Hi guys, welcome back and welcome to this video. Today I want to talk about a few things that are currently going on, such as the symbol behind Mariah Carey's ice cube, which you'll see in a moment, and then other Freemasonic symbols that I've come across, and a few other things. So stay tuned, should be an interesting video. And if you're new here, my name is Laura from Shamanic Self. So definitely subscribe. And if you want anything, suggest anything like a review or whatever, just comment below. I am currently digging through a lot of those comments because I do want to review something in the near future. But this video is going to be a little bit different. So what I do have to say is that I almost wasn't even able to record this because mysteriously my charger wasn't working. Was fine for the past years that I've been using it, but of course when you want to record something important, things just stop working, right? And I noticed that over these past few weeks for sure. And the only reason I got it to work, because when I started noticing it was already later at night, and nothing's really open, you know, as things close even here after a certain hour, and I'm like, okay, well, you know, you can't have it shipped right now, you're not going to have it right now, so what can we do? So I was digging through 10 plus years old chargers, like chargers that I had from 10 plus years ago, and was just kind of mixing and matching because they're like different parts to computer and laptop chargers. And lo and behold, I mixed it with this really old part, and all of a sudden it worked. And I was like, wow, so much to older technology being more robust than the newer technology. And also so much to not giving up, because if I had just been like, okay, I'm going to give up, not going to be able to record for the next 2 days, I probably wouldn't even be able to do anything until maybe the weekend or after. And I feel the theme of giving up right now is really, really strong. I had a conversation with a friend today, and we were just talking about, it kind of ties into all this because we're going to be talking about AI, how AI is taking over jobs and everything. So she's in the field of voice over translation. And over these past few months, or even over the past year, she's just been in touch with so many other people who do similar things, like especially translations. She's like, there's literally almost no jobs in that field anymore because most likely they're just using AI to auto-generate all these things right now, and maybe just need a proofreader here and there. But you know, we kind of got talking to, okay, so they're using your voiceover to kind of upload you into the cloud and to kind of have that similar to how they wanted to do with the actors, especially in LA earlier this year. And then there were all these demonstrations and protests, but it doesn't mean they're not doing that. They're not using these audition pictures or videos to upload into their cloud. And I'll show you a picture of what I mean too. We're going to see pictures of people that don't actually exist. So these are all CGI generated images. I had those on my old channel too, almost 2 years ago at this point in 2021. Alison McDowell is a fabulous woman to follow. She's on YouTube. She's originally from Philadelphia. I met her around 2.5 years ago. She covers the entire impact that AI has on our culture, how they're trying to get rid of every single job out there, and how they basically just want to put you on a basic income, and then everything's going to be determined with social credit score. And so my one friend who actually watched the Black Mirror episodes, at least a few of them, because we got talking about, I'm like, yeah, I think they're giving us a lot of disclosure in videos. She was just like, yeah, in one Black Mirror episode, they were having this one scenario where a woman was trying to attend a wedding. I'm not sure if she said it was episode 3 or season 3, but she was trying to attend this wedding. And then by the time she got to the wedding, her score was so low that no one actually even wanted to talk to her. And it was kind of projected on the screen how the score was all the way up here. And then by the time she was there, it was just so low, and that she was only able to really talk to others who were with the same low score. Let's just say 2 instead of 10 or something like that. I haven't seen that, but I'm actually really intrigued to maybe watch it and see what other types of disclosures they're giving us, because they already have these type of scores in China, if you weren't aware of this. And it does appear that they want to roll a lot of this out in every single country out there, especially the very controlled westernized world. meaning everything, everything works with a laptop, like everything works with electronics. You don't have Wi-Fi, you don't have a computer, whatever, like what are you really going to do? People pay almost only with card or somehow else nowadays. Cash is being eliminated. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into that already too, but that's not going to be the main focus of this video, although we're kind of going to cut into it a little bit. The main focus of this video is going to be, let's just start with the ice cube, because I thought that was just smack right in your face what they're trying to do with that. Mariah Carey, the most obnoxious Christmas singing woman out there, at least in my opinion. If you're here in the US, I don't know how it is in Europe. If you're here in the US, the moment October 31st comes around and it's over, so meaning November 1st comes around, Christmas music is basically blasting, and it usually starts with her. It's kind of like a gimmick, I feel, at this point, that as soon as all those festivities and celebrities are done, celebrations are done, you can kind of just blast her music, and it's really only her song. I mean, there are a few other songs, but this is really synonymous to Christmas music here in the US. So this year, and every year she has a different theme, and I haven't analyzed her themes from last year or the years before that, but this year it was so blatant in your face that you can't really ignore it, where she's basically bursting out of this humongous ice cube and kind of dancing along, right? I can't play it due to copyright reasons, but here's basically, another image of her bursting. You have like the scream masks symbolizing Hollywood, but symbolizing Halloween in the background too. And then you have this person here. I mean, just look at that beak. This is super Masonic, and look at that, she's trying to defrost her from the ice right there. So I posted it, I think it was somewhere on my Facebook, and got a few comments in terms of, okay, what does this really mean? So I want to go over what this means. First and foremost, one person actually commented saying, this could actually have to do with cryogenics. Yes, I do agree with that. I do think there's a different meaning too, which I'll get to, but cryogenics, what is that exactly? It's the branch of physics dealing with the production and effects of very low temperatures, meaning freezing people into this and defrosting them, making them come back to life whenever they actually have the technology to do that. How does it work on humans? The body is cooled to a temperature of minus 196 degrees Celsius. Very, very cold for people who are still in Fahrenheit. Stored in a cryonic chamber filled with liquid nitrogen. The ultimate goal is to preserve the body's tissues in a state of suspended animation, preventing decomposition and preserving the intricate structure of the brain. So what's interesting about this is, first of all, there are only 500 people cryogenically frozen overall. At least that's the number they're giving us. We don't know if it's more. It could be more. I do think they're doing this to celebrities, meaning Mariah Carey, very obviously. And so they have put into this condition after legal death is what they're saying, at least. But a few thousand more are actually on the waiting list for this. How long can a human survive? Perhaps centuries or millennia. So you're talking about people maybe not even needing to come back anymore, because yeah, they're going to be frozen here, right? Like all you need to do is kind of like an ice age scenario for humans somehow. The youngest person frozen is actually a 2-year-old who died of brain cancer in 2015. So you think about them giving us this technology through their media. They're saying, oh, in 2015 it already existed. So you kind of have to say, okay, this already existed for 20, 30, 40 years, at least on military terms. Because it takes a while, it takes decades for them to disclose that to us. Similar to how they had the coat, the invisible coat, they've already had that for eons and eons. They just disclosed that recently, right? Like maybe in the past 10 years or so, if I'm not mistaken, I'm not sure. And they've had that at least since the 70s or 80s, if not even before that. The reason I know that is because I actually talked to this military guy like a few years ago who told me that for sure they had that technology. Now, with the cryogenics, it appears they don't have the technology to really defrost you. At least they're saying they don't. I'm pretty sure if they said they did, more people would do it, especially the ultra rich, the multi-billionaires, whatever's out there. So 100% they already have the technology to kind of put you in this, defrost you whenever they want. For me, and that's kind of the entire cryogenics theory, very creepy if you think about it, because it also implies that you're still going to be trapped here in a form or another. You're still going to be stuck here. It also implies they don't want you to get out, wherever that is. And then thirdly, or whatever point we're making, for me, this kind of has like a little bit of an ice age vibe is what I'm thinking just when I'm looking at that. I wanted to say something else. I forgot what I wanted to say. But basically, they're doing this cloning procedure with celebrities, as we very well know at this point. You know, there are so many accounts out there that are comparing Britney Spears pictures from 20 plus years ago to now, and everything's completely different. The forehead's different, the nose is different, the eyes are different. Every single thing about Britney Spears is completely different. And I'm sure if you were to compare, and you can see that on TikTok, by the way, because there's a lot of stuff on that platform. If you were to compare Mariah Carey from the 80s to now, you would see similar things that don't really make sense. Is she a completely different person? Those type of things. But to me, this kind of just implies they're using her random clone. They're just defrosting her every single year for this. They're obviously using her body in the cloning centers for rituals and all of that too. What this also tells me personally, when I work with people in sessions, I usually get this ice mythology like scene when I try to retrieve souls for people and either try to get them back or put them somewhere else. And so there's something with ice. This is also why in Antarctica, you're not really able to go further than the ice wall. So there's this ice symbolism that's running throughout this entire Illuminati symbolism too. And all the stories that you hear, you know, of people talking about different ice things here and there, and that there's really a desert beyond the ice wall, but tourists are never going to see that. So there's so much that goes into ice. And for me, a soul frozen behind ice is really what I see when I do those sessions. It doesn't come up every single time, but it has come up very frequently, especially in the past 3+ years. So there's so much dark stuff that they're revealing just in these things in general. And this is just one of them. And so for me, this really just means it's blatantly in your face. You know, they're just kind of dangling that carrot in around your nose. You're just not seeing it. Because I first saw this when a friend was posting it and she was like, oh yes, finally Christmas around the corner, whatever. I'm like, what? Do you really not understand what they're doing here? There's so much hidden in the symbols that they're using. And the ice really got to me because I've been dealing with a lot of ice, especially like in the sessions from the past few years. And this is, mind you, I mean, this is 2020 on, meaning pandemic times and on, when things really got serious, right? When people literally feel like they're stuck indefinitely. Talking about Illuminati symbols, Tesla logo right here, a huge one. For anyone who's still a fan of Elon Musk. Elon Musk himself seems like a complete robotoid, right? Like complete soulless. He's also the person who likes to talk about brain chips. If you look at Elon Musk's I want to say wife, but not even the wife. If you look at his mother, there are so many images where she does the one-eyed, where she even has like her hair parted in a certain way that will give signs to the Illuminati. So yeah, they're all in the same clan, aren't they? Okay, so I actually want to share some images before we get back to those screenshots. Here again. Mariah Carey gets more and more creative each year. She's defrosted. I mean, I literally can't believe people don't understand what's going on here. I saw this. So when I was walking through my neighborhood here in New York, I blurred out the license plate because I was like, no one really has to know the license plate of this car. I saw this. It was like literally here, very close, a few minutes from where I am. I've never seen this before. I always walk the same route too. I was like, wow, I've never even paid attention to it. I've never even seen this. But yeah, New York, Masonic member, you have the compass, you have the G, you have everything here. And then I think Scotty Boy commented on my short saying like, oh yeah, and the Honda is also a Freemasonic symbol. Could very well be, but I was focusing more on the license plate. people didn't understand. Like there were people on Instagram who were like, so I see this all the time. I'm like, wow, that's so sad that you don't really know. I mean, you don't think this is unusual. You know, people, because their argument was like, oh, just regular people being part of a club. They're very religious. They're this and that. I'm like, okay, so this club, this Illuminati club, this Freemasonic club has one of the darkest symbols out there. And if people join just for the heck of it, because they get some form of togetherness out of it, this is really when people have to wake up. You know, like there are so many dark rituals that the Freemasons do, and the Illuminati are part of that. Obviously, they're the ones who want world control. So if people still don't understand what's so bad about it, you can make your own opinion. You can form your own opinion on it. But supposedly you have this in a lot of areas. I think people were like in Florida, Massachusetts, somewhere in the Midwest. I don't even know. Okay, another good one. Totally forgot about the Georgia Guidestones and certain things being destroyed. So I forgot which ones were destroyed, but you have the Hebrew Arabic candles, and this is from 2022. I just grabbed a quick screenshot from it. I was trying to delete screenshots, and then I came across this again. I was like, oh my gosh, the Hebrew Arabic panel is literally what's playing out right now. And they were already giving so many, you know, I don't want to say predictions, but they were just giving so many signs of everything that's happening right now through all of this, you know, 1.5 years ago. So yeah, interesting. Just wanted to throw that in there. I was cleaning up my storage on my phone. Okay, X, which is Twitter. I still can't get used to this new name X, is reportedly selling inactive usernames for $50,000. Okay. When I first saw this, the first thing I thought is they have at least 50,000 inactive usernames, but obviously they have more. They have millions and billions of them. When you look at celebrity accounts, doesn't matter if it's on Instagram or on X, Twitter. I don't want to say X, actually, I'll explain that too. But so if you go to all these accounts, TikTok, whatever, they have like millions and millions, like 6 million, 10 million, 100 million bots following them. Those are all inactive accounts. Those are all bots, basically. And you notice that very clearly whenever they try to clean that up and they lose a lot of followers, that's simply because they're cleaning up the entire bots, and then new bots have to be sold or created. So these are bot accounts that are literally just that. There's nothing behind them. There was, what was this company called? Social Envy. And back in 2017, 2018, I used to get a lot of emails from them. And they were basically just asking me, oh, if you want to buy followers for your Instagram, it's so and so much per month. You're going to at least grow so and so many whatevers. I forgot what it was. It seemed relatively affordable. I do have to say that, but it didn't really appeal to me even back then. And then I started noticing other people's accounts all of a sudden growing. I'm like, oh, they probably used Social Envy, which is a company. So they had companies like that back then already. This is like 6-7 years ago. And they have a million other companies at this point, but I feel they're all just operating under the same umbrella, you know, username. So yeah. Where were we at? Selling inactive username. Right. Okay. So this is nothing new. This has been going on for a really long time. Why do I not like X? So like I already explained, especially in one of the RKX videos, X is really there to X people out. And this entire name change from Twitter, which Twitter was already awful, you know, this entire bird symbol and everything, that was already pretty bad. I never liked the energy of Twitter ever. I was on there starting 2010, I think, first under a personal account and then under other accounts. And I was like, I could never warm up to Twitter. I could never even see the point of Twitter. There was like, you know, Instagram started off like as a picture platform. You could share your pictures and that's it. You didn't have to write a whole lot. You didn't have to write like an essay. Facebook, okay, you stay in touch with your friends, with college roommates, with whatever. But with X, it made no sense to me. You know, I'm not in news. I was never in news, and it seemed more like oriented towards that at least 15 years ago. So once Twitter was called X, though, for me, that was already a huge sign. Okay, so they're trying to X people out, like literally energetically X them out. And this is, I mean, under Elon Musk and everything, and he's saying, oh yeah, all those weird accounts that were against one opinion or another, they're going to be, I mean, it's just like a game they're playing, right? Like, so the censorship is there no matter what, no matter who owns Twitter. X is also really hiding the truth. And so X kind of puts this X kind of X's everything out. You kind of like on a computer screen, all of a sudden an X appears like a pop-up. You need to click that away before you actually get to the truth. That's what an X kind of does. But on an energetic level, it really puts an X on you, meaning you can't get further, you can't dig further into the truth. And they're putting an X on your existence by you even kind of being on that, which is why I basically don't even like being on there at all. And it's worse than Twitter. And also this entire black background, very dark, in my opinion. So inactive usernames sold everywhere for sure. Yeah, I don't think it's really that expensive. I do want to say that. I think you can, if you really wanted to. I mean, for celebrities, 50,000 is not a whole lot anyhow. But even for regular people, you know, like I said, I got those emails 6-7 years ago. It wasn't that much for sure. It was just like $10, $20 a month, something like that. It was pretty affordable. And this kind of ties into AI generated images. None of these faces are real, all made up by AI. The end of photography as evidence. So this is just someone, I guess, who wants to put that into the end of a career. But I see this differently. I think these have always been around because it's the same as this, right? So they're just putting all these CGI, computer generated images behind possible accounts or whatever, and we think this person's real when really it isn't, or they're stealing your identity online. You know, when people's accounts get hacked with all their pictures, that's a huge one too. But yeah, they do have all these CGI, the AI generated images all over. There's even this one website, I forgot what it was. I had it on my old channel. I have to dig it up again. This person does not exist.com, something like that. If I find it again, I'll put it in the show notes below. But there's even this one website where you can go and just see people that don't exist. And it's just a random AI generation that they're doing, whoever visits the site. Very creepy. I came across this here, Bulgaria's marriage market. So you can buy a bride. Usually they want, and this is Bulgaria, this is part of the EU, if I'm not mistaken, you know, Bulgaria, Romania, Hungary, all those places. So you can buy a bride on a Bulgaria marriage market. Forgot what the price was. They did have this somewhere. I came across this somewhere on Facebook, I think. And they usually want younger ones. So if you're, was it 4? I'm not sure if it was 14. Could have been. For sure, they did that in Lebanon where they sold off. If you've ever seen the movie Capernaum or Capernaum, where they already sold the 14-year-old sister off, that was in Lebanon. And Lebanon is kind of like a documentary, right? So that was back in 2017, 2018. Very good movie. I want to talk about it in another video because I watched that movie on my flight over to Cyprus, and it really hit hard because I was like, wow, people really don't understand here in the US or in other westernized countries like Europe, how hard people have it in other countries that are third world or really not as rich. So that was a movie that really hit home. But when I see documentaries like this, which this is a documentary, I think the girls were a little bit older, like 16, 17, 18. But once you hit a certain age, like 20, and then it's almost too late to be sold off. And the money usually goes to the family of the bride. So it's not like you get it as a bride, but you literally just, you know, like a horse at a market, basically. They have human, I mean, trades in Africa still too, but you know, it's always so baffling to me when I still see this in today's, in an EU country even, which I think Bulgaria is EU, right? If I'm not mistaken. But yeah, it's pretty out there. You know, like certain parts of the EU actually, not necessarily Bulgaria, but certain parts, like when I was in Portugal, I know it's not like that anymore, but when I was in Portugal 2017, we were in Porto. I didn't like Portugal at all, by the way, but we were in Porto, and it just reminded me of a third world country almost because everything was closed. There were windows that someone had thrown a stone in. You know, nothing was really well kept. I know that things have massively changed in Portugal and that now everyone wants to go there. It's like the golden way to your EU passport or whatever, your golden ticket. But back then, like 6-7 years ago, I hated it. Me and my friend who were visiting were like, oh, we can't wait to get out of here because the vibes were so off. It was very poor. and she almost got pickpocketed. Like, I caught the pickpocketer in the very last minute. And that's something I hate about Europe, by the way. The pickpocketing really is very much in your face in those places. But she almost got pickpocketed. I just turned around in the right second and kind of screamed in his face, and he let off. But yeah, it didn't really give a good impression back then. So, you know, certain areas, like even Spain, other countries, to me, it's always baffling that they're still part of the EU, because I mean, their economy just crashed so much, and very, very poor in certain areas. So yeah. Okay, I saw this here in New York City, Dwight School. You see the lion here, another symbol, Freemason lion, Lionsgate portal. I thought this was funny. Calvin Klein, 1993, 30 years later, you have almost the opposite right here. Can't even differentiate what's what. I want to have a different video too, how masculine men are really not here anymore, at least not here in this part of the US where I am. I've seen people on the train wearing a beard, you know, full on with, what was it, purple or red nail polish, like gel colored nail polish, meaning they had to go to a salon to get it done. So men here in certain parts of New York are wearing nail polish, not like the punk type of people who are like, oh yeah, we have black nail polish, we're like punks, you know, how they used to do it back in the 90s or 2000s. No, this is complete, I don't even know what type of statement they're trying to do. Similar to this guy who I see right here wearing the bra. I'm like, okay, so you have a beard, so you're obviously masculine, but then you wear gel nail polish. It makes no sense. So, super gender confused right now at the moment. And you don't necessarily see that, especially in the Mediterranean, especially in Arabic countries, especially in, I don't think even Latin America. Well, some Latin American countries you do, because they're really influenced by the US. But yeah, it just really blows your mind once you leave and you see how masculine they are in other countries compared to what they're really trying to pull off here. There is no plan to fix anything, because the plan was to destroy everything. Took a screenshot of this in 2022 already. It still rings true. You know, like 2020 came around, there was no plan to fix a single thing. All just to kind of destroy. Okay, so we're going to go back to our other screen. We had the Tesla logo. How much time do we have? We've got to kind of go through this a bit quicker. The CDC will now screen you for the you-know-what, the flu and RSV at 4 major airports here in the US. I think it's JFK, Boston, I forgot. Was it Philly? Somewhere there, somewhere close to here. I totally forgot. But yeah, okay, so here, Boston, San Francisco, Washington, D.C., and JFK. Of course, those major airports that people want to use. Okay, so I already know a few people who had both the flu and RSV and who are pretty much shut down at this point. I do have to say, and I didn't talk about it publicly on this channel, I talked about it more with my members. I felt extremely sick when I came back. I also felt sick when I went over there to Europe. So I kind of felt they were spraying something in the air, especially around Italy, because I was interacting with Italian people somewhere in Greece, and they were all sick. And it was this illness where I was just like, they're spraying something in your ear, because it's impossible for so many people just kind of be sick, you know, coming from a certain country. So Italy was one of those places that was really struck in 2020 as well. They're also the ones who employed drones to actually observe their citizens and see if their citizens are actually obeying with the lockdown. Because I knew at least 2 people who were like, yeah, we went outside and a drone was following us in Italy. I'm like, wow, that's insanity. That's why I hated EU during this entire lockdown scenario. And so I personally felt sick. It's kind of like in the airplane, but definitely sick in certain areas I was at. Being in Cyprus helped. It actually felt it was healing me more, because the energy is very good over there. But then going to Greece didn't help at all. So I just went back to Cyprus. And then when I was coming back from UK, from London to the US, there were these 2 people I was supposed to sit next to. They were a little bit older. They were like in their 60s or 70s. It was very hard to tell because they had their face muzzles on. And they were like, oh, we're sick. Maybe you can sit somewhere else, because we don't want to, you know, we don't want you to get sick. And I'm like, well, thanks for telling me. And then it was this huge ordeal to even find a spot because the plane was pretty full. But I actually found a spot, you know, like it was one of those spots you would have paid a few hundred more to be at, not business class, but one of those spots where you sit like in this emergency row. And like they were so attentive. They gave me so much food, so many just things that I was asking for. So it was actually better for me in the end because I wasn't sitting next to them. And the spot that I got was really amazing and I didn't have to pay extra for it. So that was good. I think that was British Airways, if I remember correctly. It was the only good flight of all the flights I took. And I always felt, you know, when I came back here, it was very hard to adjust, which I'll talk about in another video. It took like 2 or 3 weeks to actually adjust back to the energy here. But I always felt this sickish underlying thing. And I think the only reason I didn't get full on sick, because I don't think it was a virus or anything. I think it's literally something they're spraying in the air, was because my gut health is really good right now because I do all those gut detoxes and everything. So I do have to say, keep your gut healthy. The gut health is the most important health, especially when it comes to these type of things. If you don't believe me, there are so many articles out there, so many books out there, how if your gut's basically a brain in and of itself. If your gut is not healthy, that's how you get all these diseases. You know, that's how a flu really kicks in, those type of things. So you really need to keep your gut as clear as possible. There's so many smaller cultures in there and biomes and all of that. Okay, so then Yannick shared something with the AI pin in our Telegram group. They have this AI pin. I wanted to play the actual trailer, but it's just going to take too long. You can find it on TikTok. So they have a trailer for this AI pin, basically introducing you how every single thing you want to do in your life, like if you want to write something that's kind of like a chat GPT that you put on yourself, but it's for other things too. Now, here's this thing. It's a gadget designed for interacting with large language models, not apps, and for talking instead of typing, but it's not yet entirely clear what you're supposed to use it for. So it's obviously sponsored by Gates. And everything that's sponsored by Gates, you know, you already know, okay, it's just there for more control. It's something they want to put on you 24/7 and just kind of monitor you more with. So just be aware of that. I came across this article, YouTube will tell users when content was created with AI. I would say 90% of content that you see on YouTube right now is most likely created with AI. So interesting that they're now forced to disclose that somehow. And I'm sure they're not going to disclose every single thing, by the way. But yeah, interesting that maybe they got some backlash somehow from someone. There's another story going around, especially TikTok. I know it's a lot of TikTok things that I'm sharing today, which has to do child slaves, made your phone battery, iPhone mineral miners of Africa use bare hands. So these articles have been around for a little while. I came across an article from 2008, which I'll show in a second too. But this is Congo. You had like Congo, was it Ghana? I forgot what other countries you had. So yeah, I mean, obviously, you know, it's the same with China. Like if you ever seen Chinese factories and how people live there and how inhumane those conditions are for your Shein clothing, it's awful. You know, it's just really awful. So they're shedding light on this right now. I don't know why it's blowing up at this point in time, but people are sharing this profoundly on a lot of these other platforms. Maybe not necessarily YouTube, but definitely on Instagram and TikTok. And here's an article from 7/6/2008, from the summer of 2008. Flight of African child slaves forced into mines for our mobile phones, for our cell phones. So this is a while already. It's like 15 years, 15 plus years, ever since cell phones really blew up. It just makes you think about a lot of things. More about the Indigenous. So I had a few Indigenous videos out there with Native Americans, and I also had one with Aborigines and Maori. And I'm already saying a lot of those videos, they're also not indigenous to this land. They may have been there for a little bit longer than the Westerners or the settlers or whoever came and kind of took them over, but they've not been there from the ground up. They had to come from somewhere. This video, which is basically 30 seconds long on Odyssey, confirms that too. And this was more about, you know, whatever's happening in Australia that people are upset in regards to the vote and everything that happened there. But yeah, it's true. Aboriginals, you know, Aborigines. Where did you come from? And when did you actually land in Australia? Is basically what he's emphasizing. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. And it's similar to New Zealand, similar to all these areas, because no one's really native where they are. They've just been there for longer, maybe, and they think that gives them more rights, which, you know, is not always the case, especially if you're not treating your lands in a respectful manner. This cracks me up. So I know this video is getting a little bit longer, but I do want to share this entire New York City immigrant crisis. New York City migrant families refuse to stay in the tent city, erected in a distant corner of Brooklyn. Okay, so this is funny because I'm in Brooklyn. So this is the distant corner of Brooklyn, and here where the star is, that's basically Manhattan. I know it says Hoboken, but it's Manhattan right here. Okay, Greenwich Village. Okay, so this is where they want to put the immigrant family. They're saying migrant, but they're not. I mean, they're not much. What the heck? They're illegal immigrants, honestly. This is right here, close to Marine Park, close to Sheepshead Bay. Carnacy is a really bad area still, by the way. But this is pretty much in the middle of nowhere. You could take a boat over to Far Rockaway in the summer and have a really good beach day. But this is the winter, so it's cold. Obviously, I'm already wearing my winter jacket. So this is where they want them. I was like, wow, nice move. I wouldn't have not expected this move from our BS mayor, but actually I do like this move because it already says everything, right? So they refused to stay there. They had a bus which took them right there. It's called the Floyd Bennett Field on Saturday. It took them there on Saturday on the weekend. And I guess they're putting this like shelter thing up in a tent. One is saying, I have 4 kids. How are they going to send us to a shelter like this? It's impossible. My kids go to a school in Manhattan. Well, they're going to a school in Manhattan where they don't really even, they're not paying for the school in Manhattan. You know, like there's so many people so upset because, like I already said in my one YouTube live, schools in Manhattan specifically, unless you're really in the ghetto in Manhattan, which yes, that still exists, or somewhere in the projects, or somewhere like really up close to the Bronx, whatever, you have a wait list to join these schools. Okay, this is how competitive schools are in New York. This is how kindergartens are, preschools, everything here in the US, which is another reason not to even join this entire thing, homeschooling all the way. But basically, you need to show all these documents. You need to prove that you're employed, that you're actually able to afford this on a yearly basis or half a year basis. So you need all these documents. There's a huge list of things to even join, probably even a good credit score. I don't know. I've never gone through the process and I'm never interested in going through the process here. And so these people just illegally walk into this country, get all this free money, whatever thrown at them, and then put their schools in a school in Manhattan. And then now they're upset when they're getting a free tent in the middle of nowhere, Brooklyn. It's better than where you came from, suppose. It's better than Colombia or Venezuela or wherever the heck you came from, right? But no, it's not. How am I supposed to bring my 4 kids to Manhattan? Well, walking. You walked over here, walk over there. It's not rocket science. Take a subway. I mean, you see so many on the subway. It's just insanity. I'm sorry, like, you know, I was in Manhattan today. I was close to Bryant Park. I was looking at the holiday market, which is supposed to be the world's best holiday market. So if you haven't gone yet, check it out. And I'm like, okay, so I didn't make it over to Grand Central. That's going to be next on my agenda whenever I'm up there again. I do want to go to Grand Central and see if there really are still so many there, because you had so many videos floating all over TikTok where they were just ruining everything in that area. Okay, hold on. I was looking up divest. And people have to realize homosexuality is still illegal in quite a few countries. Here are the countries. There's one in South America. So this is like, it's criminal to be homosexual. If they actually catch you being homosexual, meaning having either intercourse with another, with the same sex, whatever, or even holding hands in certain parts. So this is, I believe this is French Guyana. No, it's Guyana, right? Yeah, Guyana. A lot of them are here in Africa. Egypt, I actually didn't even know Egypt until I went there. And I was like, okay. Obviously Sudan, I mean, it's not surprising. Libya, Algeria, Morocco, like all these areas. Actually, Jordan, it's not. And you see that right here. Is this Jordan? Yeah. Surprisingly, not Jordan. Israel, of course, also not. But yeah, you do have a lot of Middle Eastern, Arabic. What's over here? Asia. Supposedly in India and China, not. But right here, Myanmar, which is Burma, Bangladesh. Was it Indonesia? That was surprising to me because what are all those Bali people? Malaysia too. Malaysia I actually knew because I was in Malaysia in 2017 and there were quite a few things that I found surprising. I don't know about Singapore. I know we have at least one person from Singapore watching, so maybe she knows. But yeah, so just to kind of give you an idea, this entire trans agenda that's pulling out right now, there are quite a few countries in the world where it's actually illegal. And if you're openly displaying that, some of you wearing a gel, if you're wearing a red lipstick as a man or gel colored nails or whatever, you might not even be able to go to any of these countries. But then again, they most likely don't ever really want to leave their country anyhow, is what I find. Okay, so there were a few other things. Dangerous winter blackouts could affect more than half of the US. So this is coming right after the entire global warming hype where they're like, oh yeah, global warming really, but now you're gonna have winter blackouts. So what is the point? Like you gotta make up your mind somehow. All right, you guys, I think that was it for today. And we kind of squeezed everything in. Some things don't need much of an explanation, I guess. I hope this helps. Comment below if there's anything else that you see. And thank you so much for everything you do. And let me know review wise as well. But talk to you very soon. Until then, have a good one and chat later.